I was born to preach the gospel. I was born to preach the gospel. I was born to preach the gospel. And I sure do love my job. Yeah. I was born to preach the gospel. I was born to preach the gospel. I'm born to preach the gospel. And I sure do love my job. Yeah. Yes, I really love my job. I'm a disciple that makes disciples that makes disciples. Oh, I'm a disciple that makes disciples that makes disciples. I'm a disciple that makes disciples that makes disciples. Yes, I'm a disciple that makes disciples that makes disciples. I'm a disciple that makes disciples that makes disciples. I'm a disciple that makes disciples that makes disciples. Get firmly rooted. So let's get firmly rooted. Let's get firmly rooted. So let's get firmly rooted. Oh, I'm a disciple that makes disciples that makes disciples. I'm a disciple that makes disciples that makes disciples. I'm a disciple that makes disciples that makes disciples. Let's get firmly rooted. Firmly rooted. Let's get firmly rooted. Yeshua, 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 Yeshua. I'm a disciple that makes disciples that makes disciples. We are disciples that make disciples that make disciples. We are disciples that make disciples that make disciples. We are disciples that make disciples that make disciples. Let's get firmly rooted. Firmly rooted.
Rooted men, good morning and happy Monday morning. Pastor Tom, Firmly Rooted Ministries. And I hate to do this to you again, but I sure would like you to let me know if the video and sound is all right. I have made some changes and I want to make sure that we're doing okay. So I'm going to recognize a few guys that are on board. And while I do that, let me know how the video and the sound is coming at you. So let's start with, oh boy, a lot of you guys are coming on. I can't catch up with you. All right. Good morning, says Ken Gooch. And we have Tom Donnelly, obviously, on board. Brian Vlaming is on board. And we have Chris Connolly on board. Steve Giroux on board. We've got Ed Pila on board. And it looks like you guys feel that the sound and video is good. That's fantastic. Glad we can make a few of those changes and glad that it's coming across well to you guys. And lastly, just proud to have all of you guys on board. It's good to have the Firmly Rooted Men gathering like this. Last week, Pastor Grigsby was talking about an Antichrist spirit. And I don't want to do a whole thing on the Antichrist, but I want to do something specific, one thing. The Antichrist is anti-Christ. I know. Which means the Antichrist is going to say something about Christ that just isn't true, right? If you're going to rob Christ of his power, it simply believes something about him that's not true. And the number one thing was to deny his deity, to deny that he became man or was truly man or that he was truly God, this constant idea, because it doesn't make sense to me. I've got to make it make sense to me. And so I'm going to teach something different or believe something different, which is amazing because the Christian faith believes that dead people rise, which is impossible too. But we don't seem to make the connection that our whole faith is based upon a God who can do not just the extraordinary, but the impossible. So with that, if there is going to be a chance for Satan to mess around with our faiths and our lives and pull us away from the truth, it's going to be around Jesus. He's going to whisper lies about who Jesus is, what he really accomplished for us. And that's, gentlemen, we've got to keep that at the center of our focus. Why is that? Well, let's look at the two verses that I have today. Second John. There's only one chapter, and I've got verses 8 and 9. Watch out that you do not lose what we have worked for, but that you may be rewarded fully. Watch out. Jesus uses that phrase, watch out. Be on the alert. James says that we have to watch out because we have an enemy, a foe, who is a roaring lion seeking for someone to devour. Watch out. I think we understand this concept when it comes to the kingdom of this world. We watch out for red lights, yellow lights. We watch out for kids coming out in the street. We watch out for the kinds of things that could create danger. But sometimes we're a little bit naive on some of the most important dangers that we don't see, which we talked about yesterday in our worship service, which is the lies of the enemy. He doesn't have the power to do anything, which should encourage us. But he can manipulate us with lies and get us to do something. And so we're going to focus on what if we are more aware of the enemy's approach, right? What if you knew what the opposing team, what every play was going to be before it was played, that every pitch, you knew exactly what it was before it was thrown? Would it make a difference? Of course it would. Of course it would, because I'd never get caught by surprise. Well, what if we can grow in our knowledge of the enemy's game? Know, because we're doing real work inside of our lives, how he affects Tom Donnelly and how he affects Ed Pila and how he affects Chris Connolly and Steve Drew, right? That each and every one of us together, but individually, say, I know how he pokes at me. I see the repeated lies, and now I can begin to put truth where that lie is and expel the lie and replace it with truth. Watch out so you don't lose, so you don't step back, because we're working so hard. We're working so hard, not to gain our salvation, but to get it right and to do it right. And then he uses an interesting phrase. Anyone who runs ahead and does not continue in the teaching of Christ does not have God. Anyone who runs ahead and doesn't continue in the teaching of Christ. Anyone who says, I know more, I know better, I'm going to do this, right? This is the sin of Eve and Adam in the garden. Saw that the fruit would be make them wise, saw that it might be good to eat, so they ate. They thought better. They got ahead of God's teaching. This is why, gentlemen, I say all the time, we're not here to master the word. We're here to be mastered by the word. It continues to bend and to break us. It continues to mold us into the image of the word. I think too many pastors and theologians think that they got to come up with some secret that nobody ever knew. There are no secrets that nobody ever knew. There's nothing new under the sun. You can forget teachings that we need to be reminded of, which I think a lot of that has happened at Firmly Rooted, but that's it. All that is a recovery of and a discovery of what already existed, and you clean it off and you reset it as a primary principle, and you go. Our job's not to run ahead, our job's to be the sheep and let him be the shepherd. Because someone who runs ahead does not have God. But whoever continues in the teaching, whoever continues in the true teachings of Scripture, they have both God and the Son, because they're one. Boy, just go to John chapter 16 and 17, and John, all of Jesus's I am in the Father, and the Father is in me, and you're in me, so you're in the Father, right? All of that repeated kind of relational stuff, but at the end, we're one. Why? Because there's one truth, there's one hope, there's one faith, there's one baptism, there's one. He's the way, the truth, and the life. All right, I think I'll leave it at that. Let me see if there's any new comments that I can mention or anybody else popped on. Steve Ponoworski, I think, is right there. Good morning, Steve Ponoworski. All right, gentlemen, I hope for a Monday morning, this devotion was a blessing to you. Have a great day. Make it a firmly rooted day, and may someone see Jesus in us today. Peace.